Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Divine Within, the invisible connection with God. I'm Santiago Kneeland, your host. In today's topic, we're going to be talking about personality. On the Divine Within podcast, we share real conversations to help you find a personal connection with God. My goal is to support your faith, growth, and journey toward discovering the divine within yourself. Join us to deepen your faith and spiritual journey. I have two of my favorite guests. We have very good discussions with me. I have Don and I have James. I'll introduce you in a minute. But first, I want to mention or dive into what is personality. What are we going to be talking about? And there's a definition that I really like. It says that the true definition of personality transcends the cultural or common understanding of it as merely a set of traits or behaviors. Personality is described as unique, unchangeable, and divinely bestowed reality that integrates the material, the mental, and spiritual aspects of a being. Unlike the body, mind, or even the evolving soul, personality remains constant and serves as the unifying agent of individuality. It is a direct gift from the Universal Father, making each individual irreplaceable and eternally identifiable, regardless of the changes in form or spiritual status. This understanding elevates personality beyond mere psychological constructs, positioning it as at the core of selfhood and reflection of divine intentionality. So that's a very nice topic. And to help us understand and make sense of all of this, I have two very good dear friends of mine. I have James Woodward. He has been a carpenter and working musician most of his life. Like others who came of age in the 1960s, he became a hippie and a traveling minstrel. His search for deeper spiritual meanings and more Jesus led him to the Urantia book in 1973. Following a visit to Urantia Foundation headquarters in Chicago, James was certain that he had discovered a new epochal revelation. Later, James became inactive in the Urantia book community, and his volunteered service led to joining the staff of the Urantia Foundation, where he managed the Reader Services Department, and in 2005, he became the executive administrator of the Urantia Association, where he continues to serve in various leadership roles. Recently, James has released a second album of original songs as Jay Woody, and he edits Urantia-inspired books. He is currently writing his own book about the spiritual adventures of being a faith child of a loving Heavenly Father. So welcome, James. Welcome to this podcast. It's a pleasure to have you here.
I'm really glad to be here. Thanks for the invite, Santiago, and a good lead off. I love that definition. We'll get into that for sure.
For sure. There's a lot of meat in these bones to pick. And now I'm going to be introducing Don. Donald Clementon, who goes by Don, was born and raised in the Bay Area of Northern California. He worked in the engineering field as a structural draftsman until his retirement, or as he likes to say, repurposing in 2020. Don has lived in Boston, Massachusetts since 1999, where he resides with his wife and supportive Urantia book partner. In 2012, he met the authors behind what would become the Christ Experiment, and has since become a dedicated partner in that effort. Don continues to actively promote and advance the teachings of the Urantia book. Welcome, Don. It's a pleasure as always.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to be here and looking forward to this discussion.
Perfect. So let's dive in. We have a lot to talk. And the first segment, or the first part, is the definition. As I read, we have to redefine. There's a lot of things out there, some popular knowledge on what personality is, but based on this, what can you tell us? You want to lead us off, James?
Okay, good lead in, especially in that what you read about the personality being somewhat attached to body, mind, and spirit, but also transcending all of those. And that's one of you might call the problems with modern psychology in their definitions, is that they're very familiar and they work with body and mind, but they don't really understand spirit. And for them, I mean, some do, yes, but as far as in the scientific aspect, we're still in that the battle, between science and religion, and the scientists aren't allowed to go in and talk about spirit. Although some do, particularly people like Carl Jung, one of our famous psychologists who's had a lot to say about personality. But it began, the 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 scientific research on in psychology and personality in particular followed the route of modern medicine, where
Mm-hmm.
modern medicine began by looking for things that were wrong in the body and going in and cutting them out. It was all kind of based on pathology, and
Okay.
so and I'm this is real general here. These are big generalizations, but in the psychology realm, it took off sort of in the same realm, especially with Freud, sort of the father of modern psychology, going in and looking at these pathologies, neuroses, and psychoses, and trying to figure out,
Okay.
what how to fix them basically, and how they arose. Uh, so basically, what I'm saying is that in even in contemporary psychology, they don't allow the spirit component in. And it's kind of like sometimes I say, well, it's like trying to sit on a two-legged stool.
Yeah.
You've got body and mind. And if you sit on those two, it's not very stable.
Yeah.
Um, and we know in so many places these triads are so important, body, mind, and spirit, to have a comprehensive understanding of the whole topic, whatever it might be. So uh, that's the beautiful thing that the Urantia book does, is adds that third leg of the stool of spirit, and gives us just this big expanded understanding of so many things, and in particular uh, of personality. So
Yeah.
that's just a kind of a general a background of this is what we're up against, even with modern really progressive psychology, is uh, they can't really go into the spiritual component, and because of that, when they're trying to dissect personality, they're missing a key component.
Definitely, definitely, and like you said, you can't really understand personality completely until you see see it in full. And the triad, this comes from the origin. I mean, from the origin of the universe. So, I mean, and this is just replicating, and that's one of the ways that we see how the patterns and the mathematics of the universe really replicate, and how it affects us, or how it interacts, or the way that it's manifested, let's say, in us, which is through in the planes of the matter, of the mind, and of the spirit. So yeah, I think that's the once we understand that we're missing that component, it becomes much more clear. So thanks for that definition, James. And can you tell us about this topic, Don?
Yes, I recall that in the introduction, when you were defining personality, you described it as a gift from the Universal Father, which we all have. So I think what James alluded to in making these distinctions between the personality and our individual characteristics that define us to friends and family needs to be made, and you cannot step around the idea of bringing in spirit. So if the personality bestowed by the Universal Father is perfect, and we as individuals are flawed, and we do things that are not moral or ethical all the time, does that mean that the personality bestowal of the Father is flawed? No, it isn't. That personality bestowal is purely perfect. So
Mm-hmm.
if it maintains perfection, it must be distinct from the character that we develop over the course of our life. And the way I like to think about it is this: that personality bestowal, which is perfect, will someday be a part of us, and we will be perfect, but it'll take time. And so in this life, even though we have this personal bestowal by the Father, it's like a beautiful sculpture that someone has developed and they put in a park. But then you'll have someone that wants to maybe put a little graffiti on it, or
Uh,
maybe take a baseball cap and hang it on his head to the
uh,
side,
yeah,
or maybe so it's these things that we as individuals put on top of the personality that make it appear that there's a flaw in it. There isn't. It's the stuff we put on.
yeah, yeah. Totally, totally. And uh, and I like that. And as always, and we have been finding out, and I mean, I think throughout life, and we point that out a lot, is that we are evolving. We're going towards perfection. We're going towards that, from potential to actual, and that's the whole purpose. So it also serves as and like this, it serves as a blueprint, or a pathway. And what I like most about this definition, and I want to have your take on it, is that it's immutable. It's like it's your cosmic DNA, and this is where I see, the real survival, life after death, and what Jesus really taught us, which was, eternal survival, is really based on this, that this is us. This is, that spirit, that person. I mean, that's that personality within these three elements that constitute it is really us. And that, it transcends just the material and onto eternity. And I just love that concept.
So it's like the Father says here is a portrait of your very best self. That's what he's bestowed. The
Yeah.
paragon, the model. Now go and you become that,
Yeah. And it's interesting because,
which is the essence of what Jesus said when he says, you must become perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. So we're constantly working on matching and bringing our character, our traits, our outlook, those other components James mentioned, the body, the mind, bring them all in harmony with this paragon of perfection, which is unique to us that the Father has bestowed. And it will take some time to do that. We won't finish it all in this life, but just think of what a mighty transformation that is for the individual in this life as you work to achieve it. You become a
totally.
you become a beautiful, more better person, and it's that's the thing that drew so many people to Jesus. It wasn't always what he said. They just looked at him and it was like, wow, the man.
Yeah, no, definitely. And one thing that we have to take into consideration before I let you, before I get your take on this, James, is, you know, paradise is perfect. There's no time there, because it's all in perfection. But we have this gift as well, or this opportunity, because we will be perfect, and that's the beauty about time. We are imperfect, and that's where we start. And it's our career, it's our personality discovery, um and maximum potential and execution. And the word I like to use is actualization, that is going to get us to our final personality and to our perfection of personality. So it's really a lot to take, to consider that in paradise it's perfect, and we here in the realms of time and space have time and space in order for us to become perfect. Can you share something about on all this, Don? I mean, James. Sorry.
Well, we're already we're getting into it pretty deeply here right off, and I like that. But I'll back up just a little bit um, and focus on the limitations. Uh, I want to read a short
Okay.
definition um, from the psychology, from the scientific point of view. And it says personality is any person's collection of interrelated behavioral, cognitive, and emotional patterns that comprise a person's unique adjustment to life. These interrelated patterns are relatively stable but can change over long periods of time, driven by experiences and maturational processes, especially the adoption of social roles as worker or parent. And then they go on to say, although there is no consensus definition of personality, most theories focus on motivation and psychological interaction with one's environment. Um, so
Okay.
that's kind of the state of of what science understands or theorizes, I should say, um, and especially this one uh, something that's pretty much inherent to psychological theory is that that personality can change, and that bumps right up against what the Urantia book talks about. What you were saying, Santiago, that and Don, that it's relatively immutable, that it comes directly from the Father and is potentially perfect. There's the catch word, is potentially perfect. Um, and we are not anywhere near perfect, as Don was telling us there. So, but we have that potential, and I really like what you were saying there, Santiago, about actualizing it, and that's where the humanistic psychology sort of it started making progress from Freud and Adler, Alport, and then we get into Abraham Maslow and Carl Rogers, who got more into this. Actually, the talking about the self actualization of a person, uh, where they started moving away a little bit from that. You know, dive in and carve out the defects of the
Yeah.
personality, and started talking about, well, maybe it's just the expression, and if we can realize it, that's another word that we can use as we're talking about personality in its expression, is realizing it and actualizing it,
Yeah.
because there is something in there that is really not even explainable. Just to go over as a contrast, uh, in the Urantia book, it says man's inadequate concept of the personality of the universal Father can be improved only by man's spiritual progress in the universe. So that goes to what we started talking about, the long journey ahead of us in the rest of our lives when we move beyond the body, but not the mind. The mind goes with us, and
Yeah.
definitely
The
the
material
spirit.
stays, the material and mind goes. We're talking about the eternal aspect of personality, and that there's a long career, eternal career. So, what is beyond our world? What is beyond what we know as planet Earth? What is personality survival? So that's the next segment and the next thing I want to talk about. What is it after here? What is it after that? And after death? And the other day we were having a little bit of chat on this, and I had you were commenting something very interesting, Don. And I'll let you put it out there on what is personality survival. So can you help us with the definition and what you believe is that?
Yeah, personality survival, for some people, you would call it resurrection. Some people call it an afterlife, life after this life. Uh, from the standpoint of personality survival, we're talking about this personality that we have now that
Mm-hmm.
is useful to us and will survive our death. Not the physical body or the physical brain, but that personality will be the primary scaffolding that survives this life and will form the basis of following us and being who we are through the rest of eternity. So, why is an understanding of personality survival so important? Well, our view of death shapes how we live right now.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, every person will seriously come to terms with it. Personality survival and our understanding of it could prove to be, if we understand it and we see its factualness, it
Mm-hmm.
could give us courage in this life. and it can also enable us to not look for the quick fix to accomplish what we want. And we can also just think of an absence of a fear of death as a great relief and unburdening of ourself. So this is the problem with understanding personality survival. How do we come to make it real? How do we come to believe it? That is key. We can understand personality survival from an intellectual standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Most Christians, or practically all Christians, believe that they will be resurrected to what they describe as heaven after they die. Yet many Christians are afraid of death.
True that.
Many people, and I know that from the Christian standpoint because I've been involved with them, but I wonder how many people who believe in reincarnation or some other form of life after this life also hold hidden fears
Mm-hmm.
that I wonder if this is really going to happen when I close my eyes and I'm unconscious. See? So it's that fear of not really knowing, because you can only experience that kind of death once. You can't dive into it and then come back and see if it worked or not.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's
there's
going
yeah, the small ones that have gone and come maybe, but yeah, once you're gone, you can't really
as a
experience the
rule, yes,
resurrection. Yes,
yes,
yes.
okay. So then the big challenge is once we understand that personality is real, that it's a bestowal of the Father to all of mankind, and that it has the potential to survive death, how do we make that a reality so that we can have all of the benefits that come from having an optimistic view of the future after
Mm-hmm.
this life and also make it impact our life as it is?
As it is, as we're living it. Yeah.
So for me, I can only give you my experience. And that is this. For a long time, there was this feeling of, wow, what is going to happen when I close my eyes? You know, I know that there were many witnesses to Jesus' resurrection, and there are pros and cons that people have said that they have died and that they have gone to heaven and have come back. And that's their personal experience, but that really hasn't given me much comfort in my own, hadn't given me much
Yeah.
comfort in my own.
Yeah.
When I read, after decades of having the traditional view of heaven, okay, which was okay, I'll accept it because I'm gonna just
Yeah.
accept it on faith.
And we're
It,
we're in heaven playing harps and angels,
yeah,
and it's a
so
very standard view, right?
exactly. However, when I had the opportunity after decades to sit down and understand the process of resurrection, and the only place I've ever read the details was in the Urantia book. It shows exactly what happens physically, on a physiological basis, the moment that death occurs. What happens to your father fragment? Where does it go? What happens to what we call the soul? Where does it go?
Yeah.
How is it all assembled so that we are a person after this life? Well, so far we've all been told, "Oh, we'll meet Peter at the gate, pearly gate." Okay, that may satisfy a 10 or 12 years old, but to a real thinking and rationalizing adult,
Yeah.
that may not be enough. And for
Yeah.
many
Wow.
Christians and for me, that wasn't enough. But when they described just the mechanism of action, it's like when
Yeah.
you take a vitamin and you know the mechanism of action, how it's actually working with your cells and with your immune system and with
Mm-hmm.
all of that, you say, okay, these guys know what they're talking about. And then your
Yeah.
experience harmonizes with that. So when
Yeah.
it described the assembly part and what you will see upon awakening and the experiences in detail, I said, Now, okay, this is someone rational who's not giving me a fairy tale story. And how do they get all of these details? So I can take my belief in a resurrection and marry it now to a very serious discussion. So I no longer have this fear. I know that when I close my eyes, and I've often used this illustration since I've got this new reassurance, and that is resurrection is something we rehearse every night
Yeah.
when we go to sleep and we wake up the following morning. We're rehearsing death and resurrection in a sense. We go to sleep, we wake up to a new day, and this is how it is there. And when
Yeah.
those details, that mechanism of action was described to me in such detail and with such clarity, the spirit part had to kick in. I believe that, and I can exercise faith in it. And now my whole trajectory is,
Yeah.
wow, this is
Yeah.
just boot camp. We've got an eternity ahead of us.
Yeah. And it gives you a sense of, yeah, like you said, it gives you peace. And I think that's something that we all, and I don't know any person that tells you I'm not afraid of death. Anybody at any point in life has had that, and before I go with you, James, I just want to, point some things out. Yeah, the fear of death, and I think everybody at a point realize, what happens when the lights go out. What and a lot, yeah, and like you were saying, Peter at the gate, or yeah, your spirit will go to heaven. But once you understand what personality is, your immutable person, that uniqueness, and you're the uniquest drop. Nothing. It's like your unique DNA, your cosmic DNA. Imagine that. So when you realize that's what personality is. It's not the spirit that goes over there. It's your personality. It's your identity. Your cosmic identity that really transcends. And not only in this planet, it's valid throughout not only other spheres, but other planes, other frequencies. Every part of the universe that you go to, you're there. So that really makes you unique. And it's very, very, I mean, and there's another topic, maybe we're not going to be jumping into this, and maybe you will, James, but it talks about how we choose to it's our choice, it's not death, or the death of personality, because there is, and that's another thing, but we choose that. And that's something that we're going to talk about later. But please, James, can you fill us on your wisdom on this topic as well?
Oh, I don't know about my wisdom here, but I'm really enjoying the conversation, especially there when Don's talking about the belief that actually transcends belief and moves into faith,
Mm-hmm.
and the faith is really where when you go to sleep at night, we do have faith. We have the belief we're going to wake up, but we also have the faith that we're going to wake up in the morning, which is more powerful than the belief. And the faith, I think, is powered, or we can find some real power in it by accepting what we know without even going to psychology or the Bible or the Urantia book either. We can look around and go, I am unique.
Mm-hmm.
And Santiago is unique. Don is unique. Every single person that is on this planet right now, and probably on the other planets and the angels too, any being that is endowed with personality is unique. And
That's the
that
beautiful
just
part.
it
Yeah.
it blows my mind. I mean,
Yeah.
every time I think of it or say it, it's like, how can that be? How can all of these billions or trillions or multi gazillions of personalities all be unique? Well, that's because there is an original personality who is so far beyond what we can understand now, and maybe for a long, long time. And that's the original personality, the first source and center, the Heavenly Father of our personalities. So, like I say, you don't even have to go into theology by just going wow, unique personality. There's not another Santiago on this planet. I'm sure of it.
Or in the universe, for that
Or in
fact.
the universe, there just isn't. And so, like I say, it gives me kind of a lever to go. That's something so amazing and beautiful and true,
Yeah,
that I can get I can establish my faith on that,
yeah,
and move into that faith that I will wake up even after this first life experience. And that what Don was talking about, the ranch book has so much detail about the mechanics. I call it the spiritual technology involved in,
yeah.
what is the soul, what is the personality,
Hmm.
all of these things. How does that resurrection process work? It's uh, it's a lot, but at the core of all of that, the core of it is this thing called that we call person. So the person, that's where we get this thing we're talking about, personality.
Yeah.
So I did a little quick research in in the Rancher book, and this word, the person, and all of the different uh, forms of that, persons, personal, and personality, etc. There are 4,198 references to that word and all of its forms, like personal and personally. That's by doing the deep search in all the iterations of that word person. So with over 4,000 instances where they're talking about what we say is personal or personality, that means
Well,
they want to get our attention, I think.
and I think this is one of the core aspects, and this is what this podcast is all about. This is the divine within, and it's that personal connection with God, and that's that everything is personal. And if you're just pointing this out, that there's so much mention about personality and the person. Imagine the importance this is. I mean, this is really who we are as a cosmic citizen. We understand who we are as a human being, or maybe not oftentimes. A lot of times we don't understand that, or we try to understand. Imagine we're trying to understand who we are as human beings, trying to understand who we are as a cosmic citizen, as this grand part of the universe, and that's just beautiful. Once we take into and we acknowledge that it. Well, at least let's start first trying to understand how to be a good human being, and then later in later times we'll figure out, the next step. But so before we go into the next segment, which is going to be talking about the original personality that you just mentioned, James, do you guys want to close up with any closing remarks on this segment?
Sure. Um, so I think one of the questions can come up if we have this divine endowment, why is it that so many don't believe in it or don't have enough foundation to have faith in it? How does one develop this confidence and faith in this understanding we have of personality and also personality survival? So why is it that basically I'm asking why is it that basically our world is in the shape it's in if we have this beautiful endowment upon everyone? And I think one of the things that comes to me is that all of us humans have a spiritual capacity that for most of life can remain dormant or
Mm-hmm.
unactivated. The capacity is there. We're inherently endowed with the ability to understand spiritual things. But oftentimes we don't allow that aspect of endowment to manifest itself or to become realized or to break out of the handcuffs that we've put on it.
Yeah.
Often our upbringing and our environment and our educational systems will dictate how we think and behave with everything. And often we hear a lot about an assault We often hear assaults on the spiritual life and on the divine, and more emphasis put on the material. So when a person, through their own free will, allows their mind to
Mm-hmm.
open up to vast possibilities, they're unleashing and taking the handcuffs off this endowment that we already have inside. And if we really want to
Mm-hmm.
have that confidence about personality survival and becoming a higher functioning individual for ourself and for our future, we've got to allow that third leg of the stool, the spirit, to be unleashed and open our mind and expose ourselves to these ideas and thinking. And then we have a path for moving into that area of complete confidence and personality survival, and we can obliterate a fear of death in this life.
True. True.
Ah, Don, you've hit on both sides of it, both the ideal of believing and having faith in it, and the drawbacks, and particularly the fear, that handcuff metaphor. It's the fear, and that all comes from our animal origin
Yeah.
being. We are fearful creatures. We started out in the jungles or whatever, the old definition, but we had to be very aware of
Yeah.
things coming to try and eat us. That goes way back in our DNA. That still lives with us, and it
It's
still
part of our
does to
nature
some.
still. And that
Yeah.
forms it, it conditions that, and how we evolve from that as well.
Exactly. So that's the downside, and then of course the culture reinforces that,
Mm-hmm.
because we live in a material culture, secular culture, most of us, unless we're in Tibet or in some you know environment where it's strictly a monastic or something like that.
Yeah.
But for most of us, we're living out here in the material world. Uh, like Sting said in the Police song, "We are spirits in the material world." Uh,
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
that really grounds us into this materialistic uh, perspective, which
Yeah.
is the handcuffs
The
that
outlook
you
and
mentioned.
everything is outlook. The outlook is materialistic, and yeah, the handcuffs that you were saying, it grills you or it grounds you.
It does, and I've got one other thing here with you're talking about the personality survival and choices. There's a couple of really good quotes that help to alleviate this fear that I'm talking about. And this one, it says that sin is fraught with fatal consequences to personality survival only when it is the attitude of the whole being, when it stands for the choosing of the mind and the willing of the soul. So that says that it's got to be a real heavy
A
choice.
choice.
And then also here it says eternal survival can be jeopardized only by the decisions of the mind and the choice of the soul of the individual himself. So this is empowering. This tells us that we have the tools, and
Yeah,
it's
it's within our
choice.
hands, and that's
It's not.
beautiful. Our survival depends on us. It's a choice that we make, and that's really one of the things that liberates us. That it's our choice. It doesn't depend neither on God, neither on anybody else. And that's the beautiful gift that God also gives us. That choice to finally go from potential to actual and become part of the supreme that we are all becoming, the universe is becoming. Now I want to move into what we're now talking about, that eternal, original, beautiful personality we call the original personality, which is God. And where all these personalities that we are, that make not only here on Earth, on this planet, but the entire universe, the whole kaleidoscope of creation. So the concept of the original personality, let me just throw this out and get your thoughts. The concept of the original personality refers to the universal Father, the source of all personality. As the original and eternal personality, the Father imparts individuality to all beings, creating a direct and personal connection with each one. This divine origin underscores the sacredness of personality and its role in the cosmic framework, linking all personal beings to the Father through a spiritual circuit that facilitates worship and communion.
Well, okay, then this might be just the right place to throw in a pretty significant quote. It's from very early in the Urantia book. It says here, personality is not simply an attribute of God; it rather stands for the totality of the coordinated, infinite nature and the unified divine will, which is exhibited in eternity and universality of perfect expression. Personality, in the supreme sense, is the revelation of God to the universe of universes. That
Mm.
that picks up on a couple of things there that you just read for us, Santiago. Neither science, philosophy, nor theology can validate the personality of God. Only the personal experience of the faith sons of the Heavenly Father can effect the actual spiritual realization of the personality of God.
Again, it's a personal thing. Again, we see
Yeah.
it throughout. Nobody,
Yep.
just as nobody can choose eternal to live or to be eternalized, nobody can really help us reach and have a personal communion with God but ourselves. So it's all on our hands. That's the beauty about this, isn't it?
There's one thing that you mentioned, I'll just touch on briefly. As you read that description, James, about the universal Father and all those expansive components to his personality, we have been given a fragment of all of that. All of that. The only difference is not in quality, but in measure. So when you stop to contemplate that, that
That's
is a
beautiful.
massive incentive to allow spirit to work and dominate more in your life. Because if you can unleash that potential in this life, wow, what a dynamic person one can become.
Oh well, you've just opened up that door. That's probably a whole other podcast, brother. The indwelling spirit of God. I mean,
The
you
divine
just nailed it,
within.
and
That's it.
it, it's woven into to all of this. We haven't gone real in depth in it, but it's a huge part of personality survival. Just so that people who may not know be as studious as we are about what this Urantia book says about it. The indwelling spirit of God is deeply a part of the personality survival and the soul. It's in there, like you were saying, Don, when you found this rational and logical explanation of all this spiritual technology that takes us from here to eternity.
So, I mean, I'm gonna throw this out, and I'm gonna ask you guys. So, what you're saying here is that part of this mix, part of this spiritual technology that you're saying, James, is they're putting a piece, or there is a piece, a divine within, a divine fragment of God in that mix, and is becoming part of us as well. I'm asking. I want to hear from you. Is that what you're saying, James?
Well, yes, absolutely.
Definitely,
The divine
definitely.
within, the way you've titled this podcast, it's a huge factor. It's a fragment, as you mentioned. In the Urantia book, they refer to it as the thought adjuster or the mystery
Yeah,
monitor. Um, but there's a lot of information on what was previously quite mysterious. I mean, in religions and philosophies of the past, this divine indwelling is almost a given,
yeah,
but it's never been defined the way we have it
and I
now.
think that's it. Well, that's shooting. It's not only a podcast. That's a whole a season in itself because yeah, everybody and we have to define it because we can't confuse it with the conscience. We can't confuse it with ego, with this, with that. It's a very practical and very interesting piece of God that lives within us. And what I like about this, and I'm just gonna kind of seed this in. It's pre-personal. I don't know if anybody has heard these words or this concept, but pre-personal, it's subordinate to you. And suddenly it's like, wait, son, aren't you supposed to be, fulfilling or looking to fulfill God's will? And now God is fulfilling it. No, and it lets you choose again. So that's the beautiful. It's still in your hands, and that's free will. So, I mean, imagine that. It's so there's a peace in God, of God in you, but it doesn't. It's still up to you. Everything is still up. Everything is up to you. So I mean, our whole eternity and realization is in our hands. How liberating is that, isn't it? Please, Don, or
So
who
yeah,
wants to share?
so just for a person who may be new to these concepts, we touched a little bit on the father fragment, and also we talked about, which is the topic of this discussion, personality. And so what's the relationship between the two? And the fact is, which makes personality so understanding it so beautiful, is that the Father has given us mortals a bestowal of personality, which is unique to each individual. And then, in addition to us carrying this beautiful gift of personality from from the Father, He's also given us a fragment of Himself,
Hmm.
missing one component.
Yeah,
And that
one crucial
component is
component.
that one component is something we have, personality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Father, He's built up this beautiful operation
Yeah.
where He's going to work, put into the workings an opportunity for this piece of Himself, that thought adjuster or that spirit within, to merge with us. And we give it personality, and it gives us the divinity of the universal Father. So at some point, the two will come together. And that usually happens after personality survives.
The next
So,
stage
so imagine,
later.
yeah,
Yeah.
since we're talking about the Father, for someone to bestow that kind of power and potential in a
Yeah.
mortal is an immense act of love, because usually most thinking persons want to hold on to power and give very
That's
little to
beautiful.
someone else. But the Father has put into potential us as mortals having immense power to carry us through eternity and become divine like Himself. So there's so many ways this can take off, but
I know. I know.
it's
It,
just it encourages a person to, if you haven't, and we talk about this behind the scenes all the time. If a person hasn't cracked open a Urantia book, at least look at it. It deserves a place at the table. We have a lot of different ideas that are floating out there, so don't discount this one. I wouldn't say check it out and let that be part of the mix. It could maybe do some profound things for you that you never anticipated.
yeah. Yeah. It's like we say, and this is let me throw this disclaimer out there. This is not going to substitute anything that you already believe in, anything that you already have. It's only going to enhance it. It's only going to explain it. It's like when you go and it's when you study something, and what happens when you study something, you become familiar with it, you understand it, and it becomes more clearer, and you can do things with it. It's the only thing that's it's expanding on what it's going from kinder to the it's evolving in that that step by step in education. So just to check it out. I do agree on that. I really like how it beautiful this lays it out that God as a fragment inside of us is seeding our to us to our to us, to our mind, to our personality, the choice to continue and to do without. And it comes full circle when we finally realize and say, the most perfect way and the best way and the only way eventually to really become perfect is to get to know you and try to become perfect as you are perfect. And that is doing God's will. So it comes full circle and we say, I know that you gave me this gift and my gift is to do your will. And then you return it and you go full circle in this circuit with God and you're fulfilling his will. Isn't that beautiful as well?
It's really beautiful, Santiago, and it's that underscores something that people sometimes they miss or they overlook. And when you say that that when we ask to do, or when we consecrate our will to doing the will of the Father, we're not giving up anything at all.
Mm-mm.
We are rather
Willingly.
we're
Yeah.
we're saying whatever that potential of this personality that you bestowed and this fragment of yourself that is a guide, whatever that is, I want it.
Yeah.
I want to get me some of that,
Yeah.
and because it's perfect and it will eventually lead to my perfection, not now, but it's the potential. It's
Yeah.
that long term journey that we take. But why wouldn't you want perfection when
Guiding
it's
your
not
life.
messing with your personality?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
only
exactly.
enhancing it and growing it and
Yeah.
expanding it. It's not
Yeah.
making you something else, that you wouldn't want to
The
be. The-
mutability that it's expressing in this definition. You're not losing yourself. You're enhancing yourself and you're perfecting yourself. How beautiful is that? And very, very important aspect because we have to see what is around us. And it's not just us, it's not just God, but it's our brothers. It's who is out there, what is beyond, just our personality, God's personality, what is there. So this is what I have for this final segment, which is we titled it Interactions with Other Personalities. And it's not interactions with humans because this is just right now. And later on in this eternal career, we're going to be interacting with different personalities. And that's the beauty about this, is that we have, we travel as family, we travel as together in this. So that's also so beautiful. So finally, the way we relate to other human personalities is deeply tied to the spiritual growth and interconnectedness of all beings. Personality interaction is not merely a social or psychological phenomenon, but a profound spiritual exchange that fosters mutual growth and understanding. The direct response of one personality to another is a vital mechanism for spiritual development, as it allows individuals to inspire, uplift, and learn from one another. This dynamic interplay reflects the divine intention for personalities to coexist in harmony and contributing to the collective evolution of the cosmos. So, what this is basically saying is that people need people. We need each other. We're brothers and we serve as we are now doing. And we are really, I'm at least feeling really, uplifted as I'm having this conversation with you guys. And that's the beauty about this. We don't have to go and try to, try and find some other beings, to have these higher, elevated, I don't want to say talks, it's communions. We can have them in ourselves, in our own personal human lives. So who wants to lead us off in this particular case?
the interaction. I mean, you've hit it there. As we've talked about personality and the what we might call the miracle. I mean, what else can you call
Yeah.
personality except a miracle? It's beyond our comprehension. Like we said, how there could be billions and billions of unique personalities. So when we come back down to it, it's like, well, we're interacting with all those personalities and expressing our own personality, inviting those that we're with to express their personality, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a growth. It's like school,
Mm-hmm.
we're told in another part of the Urantia book that this whole ascension scheme where we move from mortal life to eternity in paradise is one gigantic school. So when we're in school, we're sitting there and we're listening to the master, the instructor, and to our fellow students. Uh, there's
Yeah.
always given somebody, a being who knows more that we can learn from. And I think it's the same while we're down here. We'd instinctively look for those who inspire us, that we know have something they can offer us that can help us be a better person,
Yeah.
express that personality a little more, get a little more cognitive, and especially a little more spiritual. Um, but that's all the one-to-one part. But the thing that you touched on about the communion is that all those personalities above us, the superhuman personalities, angels and uh, universe teachers, they're all personalities too.
Yeah.
And we can
Exactly.
commune with them, including on up through Jesus and the ancients of
Even with
days
Jesus.
and the Divine Mother and all the way to paradise,
Yeah.
because there's something that we didn't talk about yet, and that is the Father has this thing called the personality gravity circuit, which is like science fiction or something. It's like, how do you explain that? But it is this circuitry where all personalities in the entire universe of universes are connected in this personality circuit, which
That's
means,
interesting.
yeah, ooh, yeah.
It
that's
is
that's
it
that
is a topic, yeah.
that deep technology. So what it does, that enables us to have that communion, to be able to
Yeah.
sit here and make the choice. So I think I want to commune with Jesus right now,
Be able
or
to
I want to commune. I want
identify
to,
as that equal, that communion, that equal, yeah.
right, because he is a personality. He was a human personality and a divine personality, and still is in some mysterious way we don't fully understand, but also his Father in heaven. So that personality circuit gives us access to commune anytime we want. And why wouldn't you not want to
Yeah.
commune with the original personality? Over to you,
And
Don.
and therefore for the rest of the community. It's so beautiful. That's
Yeah.
the brotherhood finally. But yes, Don, please.
Hmm. So, yeah, when I think of this personality in relationship to other personalities, we know that the ultimate goal of our world would be to have what we have often called heaven on earth, which means
Mm-hmm.
no wars, no fighting, peace among men of goodwill, all those beautiful things. Once we understand that and we clearly grasp that personality is a bestowal upon all humans from the universal Father, we can begin to look at people very differently. Imagine, which I've done frequently, I make myself conscious when I walk down a busy street with people buzzing all around me. Each one of these individuals has a personality from the Father and a fragment of the Father with them, regardless of how they may be behaving, so that this should make us be a little more reserved on drawing conclusions about a person because of their race or background or culture, or those quick conclusions that we often
Yeah.
draw
Yeah. Yeah.
when we first see
Yeah.
a person. So when we begin to understand that all persons have these two massive spiritual components, and we begin to see that,
Yeah.
it eases relationships in a way that we could never imagine.
Mm,
And the more
definitely.
and more of us that get this spiritualized concept of personality, you begin to change the world. The world begins to change. And it's without doing hard proselytizing. It's
Yeah.
without trying to shove a doctrine or a theology down someone's mind or throat. Just by the way you roll
Yeah.
in your life, because of this advanced understanding of personality, makes you a different person.
Yeah.
And the more of those different persons we get on this planet, a momentum will begin to build up. and we
Yeah.
all individually can contribute to that.
I want to be like Don.
Yes,
No,
yes,
no,
yes, Don. You're really an
you want to be
inspiration.
like
This was beautiful.
the master teacher, not me.
But this is
Yay,
good.
brother.
But
Yay.
but look at this beautiful reflection of what you just said. I mean, how can you not see God in what you just said, Don? I mean, this is I mean, that's my appreciation. I don't know yours, James, but this is my appreciation of what he just said, what Don said. And it's really beautiful. And when you again personalize a person. And you think of the classical busy street in New York or Mexico City where I used to live, or anywhere for that matter, and you're just part of a number, part of the sequence, part of the what's the whole commotion. But once you stop and you realize that you were saying, Nan, that uniqueness, that divine indwelling in that person, that grand trajectory, path or potential that person has, it becomes unique. You see that person for who they are, not just at that physical moment, but the transcendental moment of eternity. And it just it's calm, and I think I don't think I know that that's what Jesus, through the process of his death, must have gone through in order to have gone through that ordeal. I mean, that whole thing and that ordeal in that way that he did, because he saw that personal being and that was so imperfect that it was doing that horrendous crime, but he understood that individual, and that individual has, even probably, even if he did that act, has the potential to probably eternalize if he chooses to, because we always have the choice to change our ways. So that's beautiful as well, isn't it?
Okay, well, the one thing that you mentioned earlier might have been way back in your introduction, or some of your thoughts you expressed was making this comparison of personality to DNA. And I think it's a really, really appropriate comparison, especially realizing what we are beginning to know about DNA, the more that we go into it, that it's this blueprint for the physical expression of us and even of a whole species. The
Mm-hmm.
DNA that just keeps those sudden mutations, that
Yeah.
something new develops, that comes out that wasn't there before, but somehow it was imprinted in that DNA. Well, I think it's you can make that comparison with the personality because it's also so
Yeah.
mysterious, but because it keeps expressing and because it's eternal and keeps expressing and expressing until it attains the perfection that it was intended to be. And we don't know. Just like, remember, they used to say, oh, there's junk DNA.
Yeah.
They'd say, like, oh no, look at these little pieces over here, these chemicals. They're sitting there on the strand and they're not
Yeah. They don't
doing
do
nothing.
nothing. Yeah.
Nothing. And then, oh yeah, 20 years later they go, hey, wait a minute. They are
It was so
doing
crucial.
something. They're
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
something really important. We just didn't have the tools or the knowledge. So I think it's the same. We get this personality here. In fact, they use the metaphor of a butterfly, of a caterpillar, chrysalis, and a butterfly when
Yeah.
they're talking about personality. I was going to read that one, but I just said it anyway because it's like that. It's unreal. We don't know how
Yeah.
a caterpillar turns into a butterfly, but we get this uh, potential personality and we keep expressing it and realizing it.
And that's what I love about the butterfly explanation, or the symbolism there, is that it's still the butterfly. It's still, it was a worm, and then it turned. It just transformed. It's evolving. So that's very beautiful. Well, I think it was a very very good topic. I really enjoyed having this conversation. I think that realizing, redefining, or really going beyond, the basic popular understanding of what personality is, really gives us a grasp on who we are. I mean, and the importance of really everything that we said on who we are as a person, on our responsibility in this universe, on our, everything is in our hands. I mean, one of the things that we kind of continued on talking about was how everything is personal, how everything falls into us, how the choice is ours, and how even God himself inside of us, that fragment subordinates to us. And that are the grandest thing that we can realize and see is, okay, thank you, but you lead the way. You tell me where to go to perfect myself. And that's the communion. That's the beauty in how we are becoming one in what we're talking about, the spiritual works or the spiritual technology, of how the fragment of God is being fused with our own personality. And that's just beautiful. We are becoming God. It is. It is beautiful. So, well,
All right.
that's
Well,
all
that's
for.
there's so much more, Santiago. What you just described there, the mechanics or the technology. It's so much, and we just barely scratched the surface. So the people that want to know more
Yeah,
about personality, they can go into the Center for Unity and use those tools to
yeah,
look into
that's
the
part of
Urantia
yeah.
book.
Yeah, that's what I
And
was saying. What I was going to mention. Anything that you were talking about, we have a whole set of tools that we have developed that you can, secondary works and tools that it's really practical and really personal. Once again, that's the word in there, really practical. So be sure. I mean, if you like the podcast, of course, subscribe, hit share, and hit the reminder button. A lot of people say, "Oh, hey, how come it didn't tell me when it was?" You have to hit the reminder button. But most importantly, go visit our work. We have a Linktree link down there. There's a lot of resources there. All of our resources are there, even merchandise. I mean, just look it up. I think you guys are really there's tools that are really practical for you guys. And so it's part of our, what we want to bring, part of our contribution to our personal brothers in this world. So,
So and let's throw a bone over to Don and the Christ Experiment.
oh
They got
yes, please, yes,
tools over
please,
there. Good work they're
John, and
doing.
can you tell us a little bit
Yay.
what you're doing in the Christ experiment, please?
Yes, well, we're continuing to promote the ministry of Jesus with this expanded understanding. We have a website called thechristexperiment.org. So we invite people to go there and visit that site. One of the partners on that site has also written 3 books called the Divine Adventure series. And it's a
Nice.
very unique conversation between her and 2 AI
Hmm.
interlocutors talking about life after death, time and space. I mean, it delves into
Yeah.
some deep existential questions. So you can find out about that on that site, the Christ Experiment, or the christadventure.org.
Yes, and we're gonna have all the links down here. I mean, so be sure anything that you liked about this, please. There's a follow up. There's more things to come, but I want to thank you guys. It's always a pleasure. We're gonna keep on doing this. Don, thanks for all those loving words. I mean, so beautifully put, so practical, so loving. It's really, really an honor to participate in this with you. And James, all that ancient wisdom and the way that you put it and bringing all this and talking about this is really, really awesome as well. So thank you guys. It's been a pleasure. And thank you for watching. Please, if you like this, share, especially talk about it. I think people are going to be interested. So thanks for today. It's been a pleasure. I'm Santiago Kneeland. This is the Divine Within. Take care and carpe diem.